Fundamental to China and see you one-on-one. So today I'm honored to have a guest. It's Edmond Gor. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Be glad to. Hey, thank you so much for having us on the program. As you know, I've been speaking with you about Chinese American Citizens Alliance, and I'm the national president of C.A.C.A. My name is Ed Gor, and I've been president for, this is my second term, so I have a little bit of experience now, and now I can figure out what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. But let me just introduce you to a little bit about what our organization is about. We are a 120-year organization. We've been around since the early or the late 1890s as a result of the Chinese Exclusion Act, as well as when the railroads were being built, the transcontinental railroads. As you may remember, Chinese were brought over as laborers to build that railroad to connect the East and the West. So in the East Coast, Irish were brought here as immigrants to build the railroad there, and of course Chinese. After the completion of the railroad about 3 years later, we found that Chinese immigrants, the laborers, were thrown out. And no more jobs, no more opportunities, and so well, our mission over the last 120 years, and this has never changed, is to try to make sure that Chinese Americans have the same opportunities in all areas of life. We've contributed so much to America and the way of living by our being here for so many years, yet we've never been able to tell our story as Chinese and our contributions to the United States. So one of our main missions is to let people know that Chinese Americans have made great contributions here to this country in all the areas of science and medicine and engineering, which are obvious, but obviously in politics, in social justice, and in making governmental policy even. We have very many elected officials. We're trying to get more and more young people to run for political office as well. So we're engaging in conversations with a lot of our young people across the country and saying, it's good to be involved with the STEM, science, technology, engineering, but it's also important that we are involved in mainstream of politics, whether it's the local level or at the federal level. So as you know already, we've got great influx into that area. So that's one of our missions, is to try to make sure that our young people are involved, as well as remembering what our ancestors have done when they came to this country, all the sacrifices they've done. The story we've not told many people is really, unfortunately, how our immigrant ancestors that were treated back in those days, and nobody seems to remember that story. It's a tragic story, just like any minorities who come. But we're trying to revive those stories, tell young people and the rest of the country about our heritage here in this country in the early 1900s as the official name. So officially, we've been around since 1895. So this 120-year organization has kind of had a great history. Of course, it all started in California. Our first lodges that are now just over 100 years old are in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Oakland. So those are our oldest lodges as far as longest term.
So how do you organize different chapters? I mean, the history different. Probably some is very rich history, some is don't. So how you organize different the chapters?
Yeah, that's really a great question. But what it amounts to is the migration of Chinese across the country as this Chinese moved actually both west to east, east to west, because most Chinese came through the West Coast, either through Angel Island, through Seattle, through Los Angeles. Actually, as you know, there are other Chinese who came in through New York. So there was a great migration across the country. So this is how some of those chapters came to be. And so starting from the West Coast, you see we have chapters in Phoenix and Las Vegas as well. And then we moved toward Albuquerque, San Antonio, Houston, and Mississippi. The Washington, D.C. Lodge has also been there very long, and the Boston Lodge is only a year old. It was rechartered last year. We started the Boston Lodge actually in 1927 before it folded, and so we've revitalized that chapter now, and we hope to have one in New York City very, very soon. So that's kind of how the whole history of C.A.C.A. got started, just kind of the migration of Chinese across the country. But I've had a lot of great help. Any organization that's going to be around for 120 years, you have to have had some really outstanding leaders working with me. So I'm more than honored that I have an opportunity to work with all the people across the country as well. And I've learned quite a bit. As a matter of fact, I learned more than I think people can understand that I even know myself. But listen, I want to thank you very much for the time to give us to talk about our story. And I want to congratulate on you on your work, because some of the things that you're doing are the areas that we need to expose other people to, not just Chinese, but all across the country. So thank you for your work.